Welcome to Unscripted Company, the podcast where authenticity isn't just a feature, it's the foundation. Hosted by myself, Riley, and my co-host, JK, Unscripted Company invites you to break free from the scripted world and dive into the discussions that are as real and unpredictable as life itself. So as we usually start off our podcast episodes, we start off with something called the water cooler, where we just kind of just chat about how our previous week was and, just how life is going right now. So, JK, how was your week?
Man, it started off good, and then I got down with the sickness, apparently. For those of you who are, I guess, watching in video land, you can see I'm wearing sunglasses. Maybe you hear it in my voice, too, if you're in audio land. I don't know. A little more melancholy, I suppose. But yeah, no, this past week I went on a work trip up to New York for 3 days. That was fun. It was authentically fun. I don't like traveling, honestly. I don't like dealing with airports. Like, I'm not scared of flying, but I don't know. I don't like not being in control of things, even though I know the vast majority of pilots are extremely talented, well-vetted, and are pretty darn good at what they do and have hundreds of thousands of miles flown. Plus, I always like to fly Delta, which I've never had a bad experience with Delta. So, you don't like Delta?
I've flown one time in my life, and it was American Airlines, and I could never fly any other, specific. And I've seen bad stories. I suppose if there was one other company, it would probably. I don't know. You got Delta, and then who else? I mean, you get Delta, American Airlines,
Delta, American Airlines, Southwest, United. And then you have all the the smaller ones like Alaska Airlines, Hawaiian Airlines. You have all the international ones too, but Southwest, American, United, Delta, JetBlue.
Okay.
Those are probably the biggest stateside.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'm not a bit. Probably Southwest would be the only other one. I don't know. I've only flown one time in my life, and that's it. So it's it's hard for me to be, unbiased in that regard. So.
No, yeah. I grew up a Southwest kid, though, because Southwest is budget-friendly, and they let you check a bag for free, basically. But the big difference with Southwest and some of the, I guess, budget airlines versus a Delta is with Delta, you can have an assigned seat going into it. So there's still boarding classes where they group you when you board in, segments of people. So you're not just, flooding the plane and it's chaos. But with Southwest, you don't get an assigned seat. Based on how quickly you check in, so I think it's 24 hours prior to your flight, you have to sign in or check in on the app or their website, I guess. But it's a first come, first serve. So the sooner you check in, the earlier your boarding class is. So it's it's a race to the finish line. Plus, anytime you see videos of people acting chaotic on planes, it's definitely on more the budget friendly airlines, which nothing against that. There's nothing against that. Usually, if I'm the one paying for it, yeah, I'll do a budget airline. But whenever the company's paying for it, I'm flying Delta all day. It's A1, beautiful commercial airlines. Every seat back has a TV screen. They have mood lighting. So, when they dim the lights, it's a nice, blue light that's I don't know, almost what are those, halogen lights underneath cars or whatever? What are those called?
Ground effect lights or whatever.
Yeah, they got that in the ceiling. And then the one other thing that was funny about Delta, and I've noticed this before, but I really noticed it this time flying was, so one thing Delta does differently is whenever you fly on a plane, they have to go through the safety instructions of, this is how you fasten your seatbelt, this is where the life jacket is, this is how you exit the plane if you have to in a water crash, things like that. Most airlines that don't have TV screens, like Southwest, they're people talking to you, showing you things like that. But Delta, because they have the TV screens, they do this high-end production video where it's them showing you. But the interesting thing is, I've flown Delta a couple of times before and I've noticed it, but one thing different this time was they had a new video, and I noticed they were taking cues from pharmaceutical ads. So pharmaceutical ads, they might be telling you something tragic or your liver might explode or early cause of death, but you see a nice Labrador or a golden retriever with a family in a park, and it's a lovely scene, right?
Right.
Delta was doing this with their safety video where, easy example would be, imagine these young, beautiful people hanging out at a beachside resort, and when they're talking about having to put your seat in the upright position, it shows a nice, lovely young lady adjusting her Adirondack chair. So that way it's like sitting up. And like there's moments where they're like, it is unlikely, but in the event of a water emergency landing, like when they're telling you things of like, hey, if we crash in the ocean, it shows like kids splashing in the beach. Like it's like on point, but it's also like, I see what you're doing here. It's a lovely video to watch, and you don't mind watching it. But
Right.
Delta, yeah. Also,
Delta.
flying's a hassle, dude. I don't know. Airports are fun. I like airports, but I don't like flying.
Yeah, see, like the only time that I flew, I went to Florida for a gaming convention. The only gaming convention I've ever been to, but I met actually the people that I used. A lot of them don't play Destiny anymore, but we still game together. But we all met, rented an Airbnb. We didn't have to pay for the Airbnb, so one of our friends who was still engaged to be married used her fiance's flyer miles because he had like a bunch of miles from travel saved up.
Yeah.
And then I'm pretty sure she'd have like broke up with him after she got him back. So it was like, it was one of those awkward things, but it was like, we didn't have to pay for it, so we didn't care. So the biggest thing for me for flying, like I was nervous, don't get me wrong, because it was the first time flying. I was like, I don't know what to expect. Like, I don't know what to do. I ended up getting a window seat, which was cool. So like I videoed the whole, like I stuck my phone up to the window, like videoed the whole like takeoff thing and everything. Still one of the coolest videos I've ever taken. But it was just one of those, like, I got to the airport 2 hours early because I didn't know what to expect. Went through and it was during 4th of July weekend too. So it was like, thankfully there wasn't a whole lot of people there, but it was still like a nerve-wracking, like, okay, I got to make sure I know where I'm going. And then, like, not even probably about 5-10 minutes before my flight was supposed to take off, they switched the gates. I had to, like, run all the way to this other gate, almost at the opposite end of the terminal that I was supposed to be in. I was like, okay. But got on, though. I mean, it was only like a 2-hour flight, so it wasn't bad, but it was, you just didn't know what to expect. But then, thankfully, the other, like, coming home, though, dude, that was the worst because me and one of my other buddies, my flight wasn't until 11 a.m. and his was till 1 p.m. But because everyone else booked their flights at 6 a.m., we had to wake up and we had to sit at the airport. I'm not even kidding, for 8 hours at Orlando International Airport.
No, I believe that.
That was the worst thing ever.
On Thursday, I kind of had to do that because we had meetings Wednesday and Thursday, and we were supposed to go like 3/4 of the work day on Thursday, but we ended around lunchtime. So like noon Eastern, I was done for the day, but my flight wasn't until 7:30 p.m. And so I was like, well, so I hung out at the Newark, New Jersey airport and just had a fun time. Got some Shake Shack, sat at a bar for a little bit. Like, I just was like, how do I kill time here? I was like, there was like some women's tennis match on or something. I was like, all right, I'm going to watch tennis for the next hour. And I tried to sleep and I was like, okay, this is weird. People are walking around me. I don't want to sleep here. So yeah, no, totally get that.
Yeah, flying, man.
Yeah.
Flying is a hassle.
How was your week though? It looks like I saw you put a thing on there saying you put an offer in on a home today.
Literally put an offer in like 30 minutes before I got on here.
Oh, really?
And so the hustle never stops. Yeah. So we have this, so I told you before, but I get Zillow leads. So it's like, I don't just have my own clients I can work with, but I get leads from Zillow, provided by the team. Well, they have this new form of Zillow leads now where it's, if you inquire about a property, you can use the real-time showing and you have to fill out, like, I think it's like 5 or 6 questions, but this is for people who don't have a realtor. Like you have to put that you don't have a realtor and you're like looking to buy like in like the next month. Like these are people who are like, we're ready to go. We're pre-approved. Like we're ready to do this. And so I got one of these leads and we were supposed to look at a couple properties like a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, and they ended up canceling the showing. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. Here we go. Well, we rescheduled 4 showings yesterday, and we had 2 showings today. And it was only because his wife was flying in from Vegas because that's where they're selling their current home at. So we went and looked at 4 homes yesterday. One of the homes they really loved, but they still wanted to go see some properties today. So we discussed the offers. We were kind of in between the showings and stuff like that. got the whole contract. It took me like 4 hours just to do the contract because the stupid DocuSign thing was being ridiculous. But it took me 4 hours just to get the whole offer done. And so I got it all submitted. Their home, the home that they're trying to buy is contingent, and their home, and they're also contingent because they're trying to sell their property, which they close on Thursday. So it's a bunch of stuff, but good property. I think it'll be good for them, and so it's so yeah, we'll know probably either tonight after I get off here or tomorrow morning if our offer, which we're the only offer that's been put in. The home's been on the market for 30 days, so it's like we'll see what happens. Maybe they won't come back with a lot or anything at all. They'll just accept it, and we'll be under contract. So makes up for the home that I had to terminate last week. So I had to terminate a contract last week. So it makes up for that.
I am like always window shop, and I feel like I'm starting to notice how homes staying on the market a little bit longer than they have. I mean, don't feel like you have to spill any secret info, but it really seems like it's starting to turn a little bit to a buyer's market. Maybe not yet technically, but there's like, you can feel that coming.
So I'm still learning like certain terms and stuff. Like I'll hear certain terms and I'm like, oh, what's that? So one of our team leads, he talks about what's known as the absorption rate. And so like that's typically like how fast homes are selling, how much they're not selling. And typical absorption rate nationally is I think anywhere from 10 to 15%. It's 8 to like 10%, something like that, I think. If it's above 15%, it's a seller's market. And if it's 8%, it's a buyer's market. If it is 10%, it's a steady market. And if it's above 15%, I think it's a seller's market. I think those are the general numbers. Well, we're below 5% right now for the absorption rate. So we're in actually a very heavy buyer's market. So for any of our listeners out there, if you're moving to the great area of the Dallas-Fort Worth metropolitan area, hit me up. I'd love to help you out. Put that little shameless plug in there. But no, for real though, it's actually been more of a buyer's market. Homes have been sitting for a lot longer, which gives buyers the ability to, I'm not saying straight up lowball somebody or anything like that, but it gives them the ability to negotiate more. Like maybe you want them to pay closing costs. Maybe you want them to, I don't know, ask for, if you want to ask for concessions back, like if there's some work that may need to be done to the property and you want to ask for concessions back, like you could do that. Like it gives them opportunities to ask for more stuff, in a sense to make both parties happy, because a lot of people just want to get their homes sold. I know right now Florida is having a hard time selling properties because all the hurricane stuff. So I don't know if you heard about this, but insurance companies are no longer giving flood insurance and like severe storm insurance like they used to. And so all these people that have had their homes listed have had them listed for like 2 months, 45 days to 60 days, and nobody wants to buy them because they're not offering the insurance. And the thing is, though, is the mortgage companies are telling buyers, you need this insurance, but the insurance companies are like, we're not going to give you this insurance. So it's, for areas like that, I feel bad for them because it's definitely a niche market in areas like that, especially like in Houston as well. And then your coast on California, Oregon, and Washington, it's awful stuff. So
yeah, no, I've been seeing that start to happen. I've seen scenarios. No, these were like internet articles, news articles, but I've seen where there's like even folks like in high-end communities in Florida to where maybe they can't get like flood or disaster insurance. So all they're doing is they're basically going without the insurance because the land that the house is sitting on is worth more than what it would to like rebuild the house. So they're saying, okay, screw it, we'll go without insurance. If something were to happen, we'll just sell the land and go somewhere else, basically. So they're just going to ride it out till, the next hurricane or the next whatever hits, which is crazy because I think we're in the middle of hurricane season right now, aren't we? Like it starts in April.
I think we will. I don't know if it starts in April, but I know that it's been going on for a minute. I think at least since May. I could be wrong though. I thought it always started like the last half of May, beginning of June.
You're right. June 1st through November 30th is typically.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, you're right. So we're just getting into it, basically. Man, that's something I've been crossing my fingers on is hurricanes. We haven't really seen one hit places that I care about in Texas. hoping we could keep it that way. But we'll see, I guess. We'll see. Because, like, I don't know if they're listening right now, but my parents moved to Galveston in 2021.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Right.
they haven't had one hit yet, but, you know, it's a matter of time, I imagine. So,
Yeah. Well, let's hope not. Let's hope everything is all good. And we don't have to worry about anything. The way I look at it is, just to make up for, if you can make it through that initial time, then you're good. Like, you're good for like almost a whole, another 6 months, 7 months, whatever the case may be. So
yeah. I also saw you put on your notes, like, you almost got in a car wreck. Like, what's going on with
Dude, so I was driving home from church rehearsal last Thursday, and I was like there, and you know the area fairly well, but it's like on 380, you have 3 lanes when you're coming down, like coming into Denton. Then you obviously have your turn lanes at the stoplights and such. Well, I pull up to a stoplight. It's me, a Mazda, and a black Nissan. There's this car that pulled up coming the opposite way into the turn lane. Well, their light turned red. Our light turned green. I guess they thought like, oh, we can go. They gunned it, and I slammed on my brakes as hard as I could, and they hit the Mazda, which in turn caused the Mazda to hit the Nissan, and so it was like they totaled the Mazda. The Mazda was totaled. It looked brand new, just drove off the lot, too. Completely totaled, airbags deployed and everything. Like, the whole front end was just smashed in, and they weren't even going that fast. Like, they literally just started from the stoplight, and so I literally was just like, that could have been me. Like, I almost like got T-boned, and like it probably wouldn't have ended up very good for how bad. Because like I said, 3 cars got messed up. I didn't leave immediately. Like, I pulled over and turned my hazards on. Like, I pulled over in the lane in front of one of the other cars that got hit, and I just didn't want to leave because I was like, I didn't want either party to give a false statement. So I was like, hey, I'm a neutral third party. I don't really care what happens, but this is actually what happened. So I waited until the cops showed up and gave a quick statement and got out of there. But dude, it was interesting because I was like, dude, like, what? Because like, I've almost gotten into car accidents before, like on the highway, but it's like when you're like that close, like a couple second difference, and you almost get T-boned by a car, it hits different, man, because you're just like, what is going on? So
Yeah, no, it sounds like you legit dodged a bullet.
yeah, 100%.
Heading home from church too, so I mean, it's
And it was a Jesus moment. I feel so
legit though.
like a legit Jesus moment. So it is what it is.
That is crazy. I'm gonna try to make a pivot. Speaking of bullets and dodging them, I know you and I both saw a news story. Do you like how I pivot to this? Those listening have no idea what we're pivoting to right now, but they'll laugh. They'll understand how I made the pivot here. You and I both saw basically the same news story, but I'll give the folks at home listening a quick rundown. So this is from Mario Nafal on X, the artist formerly known as Twitter. You can find this on other news outlets as well. Headline, House digitizes automatic draft for 18 to 26-year-olds, saying that it's now more equitable. So it says the House passed a measure automatically registering men aged 18 to 26 for selective service as part of the FY25 National Defense Authorization Act. Previously, male U.S. citizens age 18 to 25 had to manually register for selective service. The new proposal does not alter the existing requirements for immigrants who must register within 30 days of arrival unless they are on valid visas. This new measure uses federal databases for automatic registration, streamlining the process and reducing legal issues for non-compliance. Representative Chrissy Houlihan said, quote, by using available federal databases, the Selective Service Agency will be able to register all of the individuals required and thus help ensure that any future military draft is fair and equitable. Sourcing Fox News for that X Twitter post. I don't know about you. I'm inferring that we're going to need people here soon for some kind of a military efforts. What is your thought?
Well, so let me ask you a question though. When you turned 18, did you get a thing in the mail that you had to sign, like for selective service? You had to send part of it back and everything like that. Did you have to do that?
I think I technically enrolled before that because I was taking federal student loans, And part of taking federal student loans is you have to join or enlist in selective service before they even give you the money. So I forget if they sent me something separate. I remember doing that as part of my federal grant program.
Gotcha. Yeah, because when I turned 18, I was able to get Pell Grant. Obviously, community college, it was easier to get financial aid. And so I didn't have to do federal stuff, but they sent me a document from obviously the government. I don't remember what it was dated or documented at, but it was like, sign this, read all this, and then keep this piece of paper with you at all times in your wallet or on you to show that you registered for the Selective Service.
And I remember that now. I remember they gave me a piece of paper. I have no idea what that piece of paper is, but we're both above the age limit. So
exactly. We're good. We're good.
We did our service.
Here's my thing though. Because when I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh, we're actually, this could be us getting closer and closer to that threshold, because we've been seeing so much stuff happen, and I'm not saying we're going to go to war. For any of our listeners out there, I'm not saying we're just going to straight up go to war, because we honestly don't have the firsthand knowledge to know what's going on with our government. All we know, what we see, is based on what we see on news stations, and we don't watch just one. We watch multiple ones because we don't cater, or we're not biased towards any of them. What's up?
Did your CIA handler not tell you the latest scoop on what's happening?
No, me and him. So he kind of went MIA. Found Epstein's list, and he probably got murdered somewhere. So it was I have to find a new guy, someone that is a little bit smarter and inconspicuous, But to me, I'll be honest with you, knowing that it's men aged 18 to 26 also has me a little worried. And I get you have to be 18, and there has to be a limit to the age cap. But it's have you seen our population of men ages 18 to 26 in today's time period?
I did a little digging on that.
Yeah?
Yeah, so I was curious because, our population is a tad bit obese, and maybe a tad bit is a little bit of an understatement. But I was curious. I was like, okay, now that I'm looking at the research I did, I didn't specifically call out men on this, but out of Americans age 18 to 25, roughly 33% of them are classified as obese. That's a lot.
That's a third of our population. And I know we've had this conversation before, talking about fast food chains and just what people put in their bodies. And unfortunately, buying food from a grocery store now, it's not good for people anymore. It used to be. You used to be able to go to the grocery store, buy your groceries, and you could make your own food. And you can still buy groceries and make healthy food. But it's with all the pesticides that they spray all over, the food that's being sold, with, all the easy processed foods that are being sold that people just give to their kids. And I get it, some people struggle and they can't afford much and stuff like that. And I get that. But it's it's almost, more beneficial for everyone to literally... We need to go back 200 years is what I'm saying. Everyone growing their own food, everyone, having their own, animals, and just trading, literally just trading for food and such. You can still do your jobs and stuff like that and make your money that way. But it's I don't know. That's just my opinion on that. But as far as the obesity thing, and just how a third of our population, and I mean, I guess if you take men out of that, because that was just the whole population, right?
Yeah.
I feel you're probably looking about, I want to say you're looking at about a 20% of that 33% is obese. And I say that because men, they're generally trying to think of the right words to say, men generally have a lot of excess. Am I right?
28.5%.
28. So I was under.
Yeah, so basically 28% of men aged 18 to 25 are considered obese in the United States. That's according to the World Health Organization and medexpress.com.
So, and I know that if this draft works anything previous drafts in our history, they're not going to give you time to train. They're not going to give you time to work that weight off. Like, they're going to like draft you, put a gun in your hand, and then they're just going to send you to the battlefield. And that's how it used to be. I don't know how it is now because we haven't had a draft, but that's what I would picture would be happening.
I'm also curious because, like, at least from the U.S.'s perspective, I feel like we're kind of past the point of, like, boots on the ground. Like, yeah, don't get me wrong, we're boots on the ground, like, overseas for sure, but, like, in small pockets. Like, I feel like gone are the days of, like, okay, we need 1 million men storming the beach. Like, we got drones, we have cyber warfare, we have ways to, like, we have special ops to where it's like you can send 10 highly trained dudes in there, and females, to go in and take out a world leader. I mean, like, think about every South American country we've taken the leader out of, or like in the Middle East. Not saying we've done it cleanly or swiftly every time.
Right.
We've done it. I just don't see, and I don't know, I could be totally wrong thinking this. I just don't see us saying like, okay, we need 100,000 men drafted tomorrow. Good luck, guys. Like, where are we sending them?
Well, so actually, let's see if I can find this article real quick.
Yeah, and while you pull that up, I'm just like, we're like, currently, like, there's only 2 places I think of that we would send them. The first one, the easy one, would be like Eastern Europe. Like, okay, but we're using Ukrainian people as like cannon fodder right now, so I don't think that's a problem. The only other one that would make sense to me is something in the Pacific with like China and protecting Taiwan. But at the same time, it's like, you don't send human bodies over there to do that. The numbers game just doesn't add up. If you're trying to take China on with boots on the ground, now, yeah, you can use technology to help your cause, but I feel like it'd be more effective just to send a fleet of drones over there. Yeah, it's crazy seeing like drone technology too, that advanced, where it's like you have these like little drones with machine guns on them now, basically.
Right. Well, I don't know. I was trying to find the actual article, but there was this ordeal, and I don't know when it was announced. I know it was before this article talking about the draft and everything. But about half a week ago, there was something that came out that talked about China and how, obviously, every country right now is, developing more AI technology, for warfare, things like that. But they were actually in development of AI soldiers, like actual robotic humanoids, to send into a war. And the way that they looked at it was like, okay, we're going to send these robots into war for us so that we don't actually lose any of our people. And meanwhile, other people are actually losing their numbers. So it's like we could just keep producing these robots and we're fine versus, everyone else who's using actual, human bodies. Couldn't find the actual article, but I remember reading something about that about half a week ago or so. And it was interesting because this came out soon after that. So I'm like, are we just not technologically advanced as China to do that? And we're just now just using actual warm bodies?
So kind of in line with what you're talking about, this is May 28th of this year. Headline from CNN, China's military shows off rifle-toting robot dogs. So for those listening, or Riley, did you ever watch Black Mirror? Did you ever watch that show?
I watched like a little bit, but I never got into it like my wife did.
No worries. There's like an episode, I think it's season 1, it might be season 2, where there's something like these robot dogs in it. It's kind of wild because like that season, I think, was like 5 or 6 years ago. It was pre-COVID. So it might have been like 7 or 8 years ago. This is a real thing though. These are like robot dogs that look like something that Boston Dynamics would have created with a literal gun on the back of it.
Mm-hmm.
And so imagine if you had like 1,000 of these, nonetheless 100,000 of these, just storming the countryside or protecting it even. Like, this is like, obviously we have this stuff too, don't get me wrong, but it's
right.
Like, you can't send humans in to fight these. You got to send other robots. Like, this thing's got a GoPro on it, so there's a human controlling it somewhere. Like, yeah, you could have it be AI like powered at some point, which I have a story which is kind of wild. We can dive into that later too, but like, there's a human controlling this. So if the dog dies, the human just activates another dog and it just goes back into the battlefield.
Like, at what point, though, do we like... Because also, too, I mean, I'm pretty sure that next to China, the U.S. has the largest standing military. in the world. So we're not, I think we're number 2, if I'm not mistaken. Either number 2 or number 3. We're behind China. I know that. But we actually have, I think, probably one of the, if not the strongest military powers in the world, though.
So I guess it depends. Do you want to measure it by human personnel or by capability? Because if you want to measure it by human personnel, we're not at the top of the list. Like just by human body count. So the U.S., 2.1 million. And they're in what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th place. Ukraine is ahead of us at 2.2 million. China, 3.2. Russia, 3.6. South Korea, 3.8. But South Korea also has mandatory conscription. And let's be real, like they're not going to win a fight if someone goes to them. But that's my own opinion. India, 5.1 million. Vietnam, 5.8 million people. But these are just people. Like if you have 10 million people with pointy sticks, but then you have 10 people with guns, I think the 10 people with guns are going to win. So it's like, it's all relative of like how many people versus, you know, how big is your boom boom stick, basically, you know?
Now, what about like military capabilities?
That's a good question. I'm trying to think, how would you measure that? That is interesting. How would you measure? Oh, they have like per capita. What if we measure it per capita? Oh, no, we're not even anywhere on the top of that list because there's a bunch of poor countries that just... The Vatican City per capita has the second best military in the world, but they don't have anybody that lives there, really. I don't know. I might have to dig into that to get you a more...
So this number right here, so the number that you stated, you said like that's just... What was that number that you read off specifically? What was it called for the military?
It was like the number of standing military personnel, the number of humans, number of soldiers.
Okay, because this one right here is number of active military personnel, and the ranking is China at 2.18, India at 1.45, and then the U.S. comes in third at 1.33 for active military.
Now, I just asked ChatGPT 4.0 out of curiosity. I was like, please rank the world's militaries by capabilities. Said the ranking of the world's militaries by capabilities in 2024, according to Global Firepower, is based on a comprehensive evaluation of over 60 factors, including military resources, financial capabilities, and logistical strength. The top 10 countries are as follows. It goes United States at number 1, Russia at number 2, China at number 3, India at number 4, South Korea at number 5, the United Kingdom, number 6, Japan at 7, Turkey 8, Pakistan 9, and Italy at number 10.
So I guess it kind of goes back to like that base question, though, of like, do we think war's on the horizon? I'll be honest with you, man. Like, sometimes I don't mind being a conspiracy theorist, but it also, too, just depends on where your sources are coming from, how relevant the sources are, things like that. I have a strange feeling, man, that come around September, October, we're going to see some weird stuff happening. Like, I don't know what. I can't give anyone any details. I can't tell anyone, like, oh, this is going to happen or this is going to happen. But we've just been seeing a lot of stuff that's going on. And if nothing happens, awesome. Like, that's amazing. If we can get through an election year because with nothing happening, that's amazing. But I don't know. I couldn't tell you anything like off the top of my head of anything. But I just know that if we were to go to war and you're sending a generation of 18 to 25-year-olds, keep in mind that's Gen Z. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, it'd be Gen Z probably.
I don't have high hopes. Just saying.
And also like generationally, this country hasn't seen mass enlistment since like the Vietnam War. And that did not take favor. Like, yeah, we had a little bit of a push after 9/11, but that definitely wasn't like a draft or selective service. Those were people actively enrolling or enlisting because of what happened.
How did the selective service, like, how did that get started? Like, why do they still allow that? That's my question though. Like in the U.S., like, why is that still something that we have to do?
That's a good question. Without knowing for certain, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, like, I think it's always been a thing. I think it was a for sure thing in like the Civil War, I don't know about the American Revolution because really the United States, like depending on how you look at it, really wasn't a country yet. So those were more like militias. I think World War One was probably the first like true.
It was, yeah, following the U.S. declaration of war against Germany on April 6th, the Selective Service Act of 1917 was passed by the 65th United States Congress on May 18th, 1917.
Yeah, because I know one thing I remember learning in college with like the veterans that came back from World War One was that was like the first time that people had been said like, hey, like we're kind of forcing you to enlist and go over there. But then when they came home, they weren't taken care of. So they didn't have any like practical skills in the workforce. They were homeless. Like honestly, we still see that today. But that's when like the GI Bill came around because they were like protesting. And I know there was a moment, there's a name to this, like where there was a bunch of like veterans post World War One that were like threatening to storm Washington. Like they had a tank and some stuff. I remember at one point, but
well, let me ask you this question then. We don't have to go too far into this topic then. There's been a big topic that's been discussed throughout. It's been as I've probably said the past couple of years, it's really been a heavy topic, but only by certain people. But the whole equality conversation about males versus females and how women are like, we want equality. Okay. Well, if you have people that are for that are in, Congress and within the House and stuff like that, why only make it for men? Why are men the only ones that have to be in the Selective Service?
I think it's a complicated answer, honestly, because it's a whole thing of equality versus gender roles, for better or worse. Like,
yeah, not to get too heavy into the topic, but I was just curious, like,
because it also, I think a lot of it boils down to, like, we haven't had hard times in years, decades. Like,
man,
we really haven't had hard times. Like, all the hard times have been overseas, if you think about it.
Right.
Yeah, we've had recessions. Yeah, the stock market did some wild stuff. Like, yeah, there's been protests, but, like, there haven't really been, like, hard times to really, I don't know, look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, like, what do I really believe? You know?
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. One thing to touch on just real quick, because you kind of brought it up with, we were talking about, like, AI super soldiers. Mm-hmm. One thing that kind of clicked with me with just AI was one of the big news stories in AI that came out this week was OpenAI appointed a new member to their board. A former NSA head joined the OpenAI like corporate board. So OpenAI appointed Paul Nakasone, who was a retired U.S. Army general and former NSA head, to its board of directors. This guy, he led the NSA from 2018 to 2023. He'll join OpenAI's board as part of the Safety and Security Committee. He'll help improve AI's role in cybersecurity by detecting and responding to threats quickly. His appointment follows concerns over safety culture at OpenAI. All this tells me is now the NSA has an in with OpenAI, and AI it's been co-opted. Like, there's nothing secure about it anymore. The government has access to all of your ChatGPT texts and everything that everyone else is saying. And also think about this, how like ChatGPTs can be integrated with all iPhones now, and the majority of Americans have iPhones. Like, they're going to have so much unprecedented access that we thought they already had before, but now they for sure have.
Why can't we just go back to simpler times where we didn't have cell phones and AI and all that stuff that we had to worry about as people?
You just get two cans,
why?
tie a string between it, and get it taut, and you can just talk to each other through two tin cans.
We'll string it. We'll string it all. 200 something miles from me to you. That's how I do our podcast that way.
It's exactly. So there's really nothing more to dive into with that one, other than just like, for those of you listening out there, the NSA has a guy working at OpenAI now, and your phone has ChatGPT built into it now, probably, or will in the very near future. So anything you tell ChatGPT, it's not safe. Nothing you tell it's safe. Nothing you tell anything technology-wise is safe. It's all being read.
Everything we talk about on this podcast, we're not safe, because let's be honest here, someone's listening to it somewhere, so we're not safe.
Yeah, because even, I don't know if you know who like Edward Snowden is. He's like the big guy who basically demasked the NSA through WikiLeaks and all that, and he's been like banned from the country and all that kind of stuff. He even tweeted about this, saying, OpenAI says they've gone full mask off. Do not ever trust OpenAI or its products. There is only one reason for appointing an NSA former director to your board. This is a willful, calculated betrayal of the rights of every person on Earth. You have been warned. And I even saw Elon Musk tweeted, or I guess posted this week too, because Apple announced that ChatGPT was going to be built into Siri, basically. And Elon Musk was not happy. And he said basically he's theorizing or like thinking about none of his employees at any of the companies will be able to have an iPhone because it'll have ChatGPT built into it, and he doesn't want that level of access.
So I know we had a couple other things we were going to talk about, so we'll if we have time, we'll get to those. But how do you feel about the, like, just straight up just the Constitution and just how over the past, I don't know, we'll probably go like maybe 5-10 years, probably start with 5 years, how much stuff has just been like not even relevant within that, like, and there's been this conversation from a lot of people talking about how, like, why do we even still have this stuff implemented? Why is this stuff even still here? Because they don't follow any of it, because it's not for us, it's actually for our government to follow, you know? And so it's like, but now you're seeing like they're actually like, you know, right to free speech, you know, like they're taking that away essentially, you know, like they're still trying to abolish the Second Amendment. That'll never happen. And there's so much more that's going on.
Yeah, that's a good question, because I have theories, and they're fun theories to think about, but like one of the theories is like, I don't think, and this kind of ties into it, I don't think we've had like a rightfully elected president since JFK, maybe, like things like that, to where like, yeah, I think the rules are being followed for those just kind of blindly glancing at the government, but rules are meant to be broken, right? We've talked about countless examples of, look at Congress, look at the Senate, you see their like stock trading habits, you see how some rules are levied harder than others, you've seen the stuff that's gone on with like Trump's trial, you've seen the stuff that's gone on with Hunter Biden's trial, the stuff with like election fairness, and were all the ballots counted, were any of them fake, were they all real, stuff like that,
right?
So I don't know, I really don't know. My gut tells me there's a lot of manipulation that goes on, like a lot more than I could even fathom, like for real, to where I don't want to say it's like a cabal of people, but it's not what they make it appear to be.
Do you think the catalyst that set that off was the JFK assassination? Do you think that that's kind of like what kickstarted a lot of this stuff that's happening now and going on, or do you think it goes further back, or do you think it's just been, because I know obviously for the last like 25 years this stuff's been happening and going on.
Yeah, I think it goes farther back. What I think, at least from my perspective, which could be totally off base, is this, you know, the CIA has been around for a hot second. Intelligence agencies have been around for a hot second in multiple countries, multiple world powers, if not all of them. I think one thing that kind of happened within the United States was, we do know the CIA wanted to do a couple of different operations in their efforts against Cuba and Russia. During Kennedy's administration, and Kennedy didn't want to play ball with a lot of them, and so they pushed back on Kennedy. And I think when they realized that they could assassinate a sitting president, they're like, okay, what else can we do? Like, you know, like they were like, oh, can we do this? Oh, we did it. What's next? Like, what's that next thing? Because like there were instances, what's it, Operation Northwoods? There was an operation that almost happened during Kennedy's administration. Kennedy stopped it, where the CIA wanted to shoot down a what is it, like a pedestrian plane, or like a
Oh
What do
yeah,
you call it? It was like a Delta flight, basically.
yeah.
They wanted to shoot down a Delta flight and blame the Cubans on it, so that way we could go into Cuba. But Kennedy's like, nah, we're not shooting down a plane with our own people on it. That's crazy. And that's stuff we know they wanted to do. So what are the things that they've done that we'll just never know about? You know, because they for sure. I don't think we'll ever know. I think there's things that have happened that we're not even aware happened that everyone involved with it has since gone to pass, and so we'll just never know about it, honestly. But I think we're at that point now too, where it's like, what else can be done? Like AI is this whole emerging like sector that we don't even know what it means yet. Like the people that run OpenAI don't even know what it means yet, but we know the government wants a piece of it. So there's definitely a lot of value there. There's a lot of data on their people there.
I mean, if it involves controlling people or keeping an eye on people in any shape, form, or fashion, I mean, the government's going to want their hands on it any way that they can get their hands on it. Dude, it's scary to think about sometimes, but it's fun to entertain some of the ideas. But at the same time, it's like, what if this happened? You know? But yeah,
no, it's crazy. What was it? I had one other fun one I can bring up real quick. Was there anything you wanted to dive into next?
No.
Cool. I have a fun headline here. So the headline, this is from CNBC. I'll just read this and I'll tell you more about it. But the headline literally says, this couple lives in a vintage 940 square foot trailer by the beach for $5,100 a month. It's a California dream. Can you imagine having a 940 square foot mobile home trailer that you pay $5,100 a month for, and you're living a dream? It says, this is from CNBC, it says, when my husband Brian told me he's from Laguna Beach, it took everything in me to play it cool. Quote, oh, is that near Los Angeles? I asked. Like most elder millennials, I knew exactly where Laguna Beach was. I had seen every episode of the reality show, The OC. I don't know why I pretended. Turns out Brian's a Seth and Summer stan too. Oh my God, I didn't read this part of the article, but this is just commentary, I guess. So I never imagined we'd end up living in the land of the beachside cottages and sun-drenched oceans I'd seen on TV. But in 2021, we decided to leave the Bay Area. So they're already living in San Francisco, already paying probably hella cash. Decided to leave the Bay Area and spend a couple of months in Brian's hometown. We both work remotely. I'm a writer and he's in tech sales, so why not? We've been here ever since. Today we live in an old school 940 square foot aluminum sided trailer across the street from the beach. Deciding we wanted to stay in Laguna Beach wasn't hard. I mean, it's beautiful, sunny, laid back, and has a thriving art scene, but figuring out a long-term living solution in such a pricey area required us to be creative. Fun fact, the median home price in Laguna Beach hovers around $3 million, and the median monthly rent is over $8,000. Brian and I were paying roughly $6,200 a month for our short-term rental, a steep price we could stomach for a couple of months, but not something we could sustain. Luckily, we discovered a quirky little neighborhood tucked away in a picturesque canyon across the street from the ritziest hotel in town. It's filled with mobile homes that sell for as little as $150,000. Brian and I are no strangers to alternative abodes. We'd previously lived in a 46-foot motor yacht for 3 years, so the concept of a house on wheels did not intimidate us. When you purchase a trailer in this mobile home community, the structure is yours, but you rent the land it sits on. We decided to look at purchasing a mobile home as a hybrid solution, part owning, part renting, all for less than what either traditional option would cost. We paid $212,500 for the trailer using money we'd saved up after negotiating a $5,000 credit from the sellers when the home inspection uncovers some necessary repairs. I mean, it's an aluminum trailer. It's going to be repairs. After living on a boat, we didn't have much more than a TV and a mattress to start off with. In order to rebuild the unstable back deck fence yard, redo the landscaping, renovate the kitchen, and furnish the home, we took out about a $150,000 home equity loan against the trailer. All told, we are currently paying about $5,148 a month, including The land lease, which is about $3,400, utilities about $400, and the loan repayment is about $1,300. There's a lot more to this article, but I just saw the headline and I was like, these fools. You are living in a 940 square foot aluminum trailer, paying $5,000 plus a month, and you're okay with it. More power to them, but this is the state of America.
That's more than double of my monthly expenses total.
And you don't live in an aluminum trailer.
And I don't live in an aluminum trailer.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. But if you scroll down though, it looks nice, but realistically it's a one bedroom. It's a one bedroom all day. Like you have your kitchen, and it's definitely not for like a family. Like this is for like your couple that either didn't have kids or had kids and they're grown up, and so now you just want something for just y'all, and this is what y'all love. And so you have like your own little like oasis right off the beach kind of thing, and it's exactly what you want in life. So it's like, by all means, I mean, do whatever you want to do. It seems like it's good for just a couple. Like if you're just like an older couple and you just kind of just either don't want kids or whatever the case may be. So
yeah,
it looks nice.
Yeah, no, you're spot on. It doesn't look bad or anything. I'm just like, man, it's a lot of money.
It does look bigger on the inside though, low key.
Yeah, and also knowing you don't own the land you're sitting on.
That's actually a common theme though for things like this. So it's like modular homes and manufactured homes. Like you rent the lot that the home is sitting on, and you own the home. So like that's it. I think it's the same for condos. Like you own the condo and inside of it, but you don't own any of the other stuff around it. Like you may pay HOA fees, but you don't own any of that stuff. Like that's it. So it's definitely a niche thing that some people like and some people don't like. But I can't do it. I could never do it. I'm also not a beach person too. It's just not me. So
I like the beach in moderation. Of course, I don't know. Like California's got different level of beaches than what I'm used to, so I could be persuaded otherwise.
Yeah, perhaps. I don't know. I feel like I'd be more of like a Florida beach than a California beach. Like go like Miami or something like that. Like or Orlando. Like that'd be fun.
Down at Florida Keys, way down south.
Yeah, something like that. Like I feel like that'd be something more my speed. I couldn't do. And I will never go to California. I will never step foot in California ever till the day I die. I will never go to California.
Here's your hot takes this week. Riley will never step foot in the state of California.
Never. Not even if you offered me $1 million.
Oh, that's bold.
Not even if you offered me $2 million.
If there's any wealthy subscribers out there, please send Riley $1 million, because I would love to see him turn down this offer somehow of not going to the state of California, even though someone's offering $1 million.
Can you imagine though if someone offered it, not knowing that hey, next thing you know, I'm like, all right, sure, like let's go, let's do it, and then they're like, wait a second, I don't want to pay you this, and I'm like, hey, too bad, you already paid me.
Maybe we can do that in 4 weeks time for the live stream for the 25th episode.
Is it 4? I thought it was 5 because this is episode 20.
You're right. Math. I'm sick.
We are fifth of the way to 100 episodes, and we are one of the fastest growing podcasts on the internet today.
Darn tootin'.
Darn tootin', he says.
Man, so I don't know about you. My head is killing me, so I might call it here. But first, for those of you listening, if you made it to this part of the episode, first of all, that's dope. Thank you. We appreciate it. Leave us a comment. Let us know what was your favorite part of the episode. Also, are there any topics out there that you would like for us to cover that we haven't talked about yet? We're always open for any fun ideas out there. We definitely love to hear from the community. So those of you that comment on a weekly basis, keep doing it. Appreciate you out there. As always, you can find us on YouTube, Rumble, Spotify. Worst case, just go to unscriptedcompany.com. It'll show you all the social links. There's also a merch store too, which Ryan and I are getting the first batch of merch here in probably about a day or two. So we'll probably have that for the next episode and shamelessly plug that out the wazoo. So apologies in advance for that, but just a forewarning on that. Riley, anything you want to leave, any wise words of intelligence to leave this beautiful audience with today?
If you go to California, be safe. That's all I can really say. California is a beast of its own. But no, as always, we do appreciate our audience. Again, our podcast is growing, and we appreciate anyone who takes the time to either listen and or view what we have to say. Again, we're just here just to have a good time and, just maybe learn a little bit more as we go along. So we enjoy it.